The mysterious remote control. Leo was an average guy with an above-average talent for laziness. On a rainy Thursday morning, he woke up late, again, and stumbled his way through the tiny apartment he called home. His cat, Monsieur Fluff, meowed in protest as Leo stepped on his tail for the third time that week. With one eye open and a slice of leftover pizza dangling from his mouth, Leo grabbed the TV remote, aiming to start his day with cartoons and caffeine. But the TV refused to obey. Dead. Not even a blink. Annoyed, Leo smacked the remote, changed the batteries, even whispered sweet nothings to it. Nothing worked. Out of frustration, he pressed every single button at once, and suddenly, the ceiling light turned off. Leo blinked. Pressed another button. The fridge light dimmed. A third button made opera music begin playing. But he didn't own a speaker. His eyes widened. The remote somehow was controlling everything except the TV. Excited, like a child who found magic in his cereal box, Leo began testing it like a mad scientist. Volume up. The arguing neighbors upstairs grew louder. Mute. Monsieur Fluff opened his mouth but made no sound. Channel down. Leo's pajamas turned into a full business suit. What sorcery is this? He laughed, spinning around. By the evening, Leo had turned his apartment into a symphony of nonsense. The toaster made phone calls. The microwave spoke Italian. He decided this was the perfect time to invite over Emma, the charming girl from the cafe who thought he was mysteriously artistic. Emma arrived and was impressed. At first, the wine poured itself. The bookshelf neatly rearranged to show only deep philosophical novels. Jazz started playing from nowhere. But then, things got weird. Leo accidentally sat on the remote. Suddenly, he spoke fluent French. Emma's wine glass filled itself. Again. And again. Then the cat floated. Emma stared. "Are you doing this?" Leo sweating. "Define doing." Panicking, Leo tried to fix it by pressing pause. Emma froze, mid-sip, mid-blink like a wax statue. He pressed play. She spoke backward. "Woi era o ilir woi." He mashed buttons. Nothing helped. In desperation, he opened the battery case and blew on it like an old video game cartridge. With one final press, the remote let out a puff of smoke and disintegrated. Silence. Emma blinked, looked around, then started laughing. "That was brilliant," she said. "Is this some kind of performance art? Like Dadaism but with electronics?" Leo, catching his breath, smiled. "Yeah, sure. Performance art." Later that night, as he lay on the couch, Leo looked at the TV, which now turned on just fine. He chuckled to himself and said, "Maybe life shouldn't come with a remote control. We'd just skip all the best parts." The day I became a local celebrity, by accident. It all started when Alex, a quiet graphic designer who preferred coffee to conversation, decided to take a different route to work one Wednesday morning. His usual tram was delayed, again, so he thought a short walk through the park might lift his mood. What he didn't know was that this seemingly innocent detour would change his entire week, and mildly ruin his reputation. As Alex strolled through the park, latte in one hand, headphones in the other, he noticed a small crowd gathered by the fountain. Curious but cautious, he edged closer, just in time to see an elderly woman's tiny dog stuck inside the fountain's shallow pool, trembling on a floating pizza box. No one dared to jump in. The water looked cold and gross. So, naturally, all the people just filmed it. Feeling an unusual sense of bravery, or caffeine-induced confidence, Alex sighed, removed his coat, and waded into the fountain. With great care, and far too much awkward splashing, he saved the tiny shivering dog, lifted it into the old lady's arms, and received a round of applause. One guy even shouted, "You're a hero!" Another woman whispered, "I think he's single." Alex smiled shyly and left the scene, soaking wet but satisfied. The next morning, things got weird. At the coffee shop, the barista gave him a free drink. "For our local legend," she winked. At work, a coworker said, "Hey, you're the fountain guy. You're trending on TikTok." Alex blinked. "I don't even have TikTok." He checked his phone and found himself in dozens of clips. Dramatic slow-motion footage of him holding the dog. A remix of him splashing in the fountain, set to opera music. A conspiracy video titled, "Is Fountain Guy Part of the Illuminati?" Even the local news ran a segment. Quiet hero rescues dog. Sparks citywide thirst. One reporter called him the wet prince of the people. By Friday, someone had printed his face on a t-shirt. By Saturday, someone else had tattooed his rescue scene on their leg. By Sunday, Alex refused to leave his apartment. On Monday, it rained. Hard. And just like that, a new video went viral. A man in a banana costume juggling on the subway. Alex sipped his coffee in peace. He looked at the camera and said, "Fame is like a cold fountain. Fun for a minute, embarrassing forever." The Great Office Microwave Mystery. It all started on a rainy Monday morning in a quiet little office in Manchester. Everyone was sleepy, sipping bad coffee, pretending to look busy. Everything was perfectly boring, until the smell happened. Around 10:47 a.m., a powerful scent of burnt fish filled the entire office. It was sharp, smoky, and oddly cheesy. People started poking their heads out of cubicles like meerkats. Whispers echoed. Who nuked the fish? The culprit was anonymous. No one owned up. HR sent out a passive-aggressive email titled, "Microwave Etiquette Reminder." The email had bullet points. There were rules now. A legend was born, the fish phantom. Every week, without fail, the smell returned. Mondays, 10:47 a.m., like clockwork. One brave intern, Tom, decided to solve the mystery. He arrived early the next Monday, hiding behind a giant fake plant near the kitchen. At exactly 10:45, in walked the least expected person, Mr. Higgins, the ultra-polite finance manager who wore bow ties and brought cookies for the team. He took out a Tupperware box labeled Grandma's Tuna Casserole, microwaved it proudly, and walked away humming Beethoven. Tom gasped in betrayal. But instead of exposing Mr. Higgins, Tom had a better idea. He printed a fake Fish-Free Mondays poster and stuck it above the microwave. Next Monday, no smell, peace at last. The lesson? Sometimes the quietest people commit the loudest crimes, and diplomacy, plus a well-placed sign, works better than confrontation. Also, never microwave fish in public spaces, ever. The day I accidentally joined a yoga class in German. I was on a weekend trip to Berlin, trying to be spontaneous. I booked a local wellness center for what I thought was beginner stretching. The listing said, gentle movement, body and mind awakening, sounded harmless, sounded English. I wore my most flexible sweatpants and brought a water bottle the size of a toddler. When I entered the room, the atmosphere was pure zen. Candles, soft music, and a woman named Greta with the voice of a yoga goddess. She smiled and said something beautiful, in fluent German. I didn't understand a single word. Too embarrassed to leave, I stayed and tried to follow along. 10 minutes in, everyone gracefully lifted one leg behind their head. I tried. My leg got stuck somewhere around mild regret and potential cramp. A guy next to me whispered in English, "You okay, mate?" I nodded confidently, while internally dislocating my dignity. Half an hour later, I was in a pose I can only describe as human pretzel with existential doubt. Then Greta said something, and everyone suddenly started humming in unison. I joined in, 2 octaves too low and a beat too slow. A goat-like sound escaped my throat. Someone giggled. At the end, Greta came over and kindly asked, still in German, if I enjoyed the class. I just said, "Ja," with the most sincere smile of my life, then limped out like a retired ninja. The lesson? Say yes to new experiences, even if you have no idea what's happening. Worst case, you stretch a muscle. Best case, you stretch your comfort zone. Just
Which story made you laugh the
maybe
most?
learn a few words of the local
Bro,
language
akan
next
memblok.
time.